Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Sustainable Activism webinar. My name is Lisa Levinson. I'm going to be your host this evening. And what we do in this webinar is we provide tools and strategies for animal activists so that they can continue their amazing work to help animals. And that's part of what we do at In Defense of Animals for our Sustainable Activism campaign is provide emotional and spiritual tools for animal activists so that we can continue in this work and also help one another. So today I'm really thrilled to introduce you to our special guest. Her name is Brenda Sanders, and she's got a lot to tell you about today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her first. So Brenda, she co-founded Thrive Baltimore, which is a community resource center that offers classes, workshops, cooking demos, and programs that support people in living a healthier, more sustainable lifestyle. And as the executive director of the Afro-Vegan Society, she provides resources to people in marginalized communities to help them adopt a vegan diet. She also co-created Vegan SoulFest, an annual festival that celebrates culture and vegan living, and co-owns The Greener Kitchen, a plant-based deli and food distributor that produces affordable and accessible vegan foods. So if you haven't noticed, Brenda is a very busy lady. She is out there in so many ways in her community, offering vegan resources and tools. So it's a pleasure to have Brenda with us today. Hi, Brenda. How you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful to hear all about what you're doing, and I'm so grateful to you for being here today with us. So we'd like to hear more about what you're up to, and if you don't mind sharing a bit about that and about community-based activism and how to do that in the vegan community, we would really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And again, thank you. Thank you for all the folks who tune in and listen to this. Um, so I feel really honored to be able to talk specifically about community-based advocacy because this is a type of activism that is actually pretty near and dear to my heart. I've done a lot of different kinds of advocacy, a lot of different kinds of social justice work, and doing work at the community level has been so fulfilling for me. And I would like to think that it's been very fulfilling for the folks who I and the other activists who I work with have connected to in the community. And so, just to talk a little bit about how I got here and how I started doing this work. Um, Back in 2011, I heard about a study that had been done by Johns Hopkins University, um, where they took two communities in Baltimore City. One was a marginalized Black community, economically marginalized, and the other one was a more affluent white community. And they studied the people from these communities and found that these folks, that there was, one second, sorry. Sorry, business. I'm currently at the Greener Kitchen, and so we have some stuff going on here. But anyway, so I heard about this study where there was a 20-year life expectancy difference between the marginalized Black community and the more affluent white community. And the major factor that they identified was diet. And so, since I had already been eating plant based for years at that point, I decided that I wanted to try to take what I already had and give back to the community that I was from. And so that was sort of how my official activism was born. Um, And so from 2011, just going from community center to community center, from church to church, and just doing these plant-based cooking demos and connecting with people and planning events. Eventually, that sort of culminated in Thrive Baltimore in 2017. We had an opportunity to have our own community center, which was a really, really big step for us because it was sort of having a base of operations where we could bring people in and really start to build on the momentum of the work that we had already done. So it was really exciting. We got a lot done in a very short period of time. We just were offering back to back to back resources for people to come out to learn. We have education classes, like a series of education classes where people can come in and learn about sustainable living, learn about plant-based eating, learn about the animal-based food system and why it is built on so much cruelty and how people don't have to be a part of that, how they can actually reject that system and turn to a plant-based food system instead. We were able to do workshops and like cooking demo workshops, film screenings, just have lecturers, guest lecturers come in and speak to them about everything from nutrition and how they weren't going to die of protein deficiency if they stopped eating animal products, to just all kinds of different engaging educational programming for folks. And when I first started doing this work, I was told by people like, you know, folks in these communities, folks in poor communities, they're not going to want this information. They're not going to care about this information. You know, you're wasting your time. And what I found was that nothing could have been further from the truth. Folks have been excited. They have wanted this information. They have basically just eaten it up. And so in the time that we've been doing this activism work in Baltimore, it has picked up so much momentum that a lot of it would probably just, it's unstoppable at this point. It will probably go on even without me, which is great. And so just to talk a little bit about what it is exactly that our goals are. Because I think that a lot of people in, especially animal rights activism, and to a certain degree environmental activism, don't really always see community-based advocacy as effective or as worthwhile as some of the bigger national campaigns and that kind of thing. And I think that we need all of these things. We need the big national campaigns, but we also need to have the more intimate community-based activism, because with some communities, and especially in marginalized communities, there are hurdles to overcome in doing advocacy to folks who have real issues, who have real social issues to overcome. Things like poverty, things like housing issues and health problems and that kind of thing. And so it's very, very important to sort of meet people where they are and to give people what they need as well, to understand the folks who you are advocating to, and to help to solve some of their problems while also educating them about all these really, really important world-changing things that they may never have been exposed to. So our ultimate goal, is in doing this vegan food justice work is to start to create a shift away from the animal-based food system and towards a plant-based food system. And the way that we have decided to do that in the communities where we are working is to provide that system, to provide the framework for that shift so that, when we come to people with this new information, which is something that we had been doing a lot. We had been connecting with people and bringing them out to our events and telling them everything that was wrong with the system of animal use. And when we were done telling them everything that was wrong, they felt horrible, because nobody wants to think about animals being tortured and mutilated and harmed, and that, our choices are contributing to that. But then they would ask us, like, what can we do? Where do we start? What are we supposed to do about it? And so we realized that we didn't really at that time have all the answers. So we started to put some of those answers together and be able to provide education, resources, support, community, and the beginnings of structure so that people who had economic challenges or who had access challenges, meaning they didn't necessarily have access to plant-based foods, people who may have been dealing with time restraints, like if you're working 2 jobs and you have, an elder parent to take care of and children and, all these different things going on in your life. Maybe your life just isn't set up to transition to a whole different way of living. And so those were some of the types of challenges that we have been taking on and trying to figure out what the solutions are to those challenges. So, in terms of education, just making our education programs like the Plant-Based Jumpstart, which is a 5-week education program that we do out of our community center, Thrive Baltimore, just making it very, very accessible, making it interesting, getting the most out of that time. So we bring in experts, local experts in nutrition. We bring out chefs. We bring out, we'll break out the best films to screen, and we'll just provide people with the most effective information, send them home with resources so that when they leave us, they have a starting point, as opposed to, just handing them a leaflet or, just talking on the street for a few minutes, which is really, really important for some folks. In order for them to actually make such a dramatic shift in their daily lives, they need resources and support to be able to do that. And so that's been our biggest goal in doing the work that we're doing, is to bring people in, give them lots and lots of stuff that they need so that they don't feel abandoned after they get access to all this really, really important information. And then just keep the interactions ongoing. What we've been doing here, which I never would have just even imagined that we would be able to do, is we've been building a movement. We've been just creating this huge network of people and businesses and organizations, nonprofits, and just really starting to shift the entire culture in Baltimore City, which I dreamed of doing but never really imagined would be possible in such a short period of time. So, like when we plan the big, exciting, fun events, like for instance, the vegan mac and cheese championship event, and then we pack the house with 3,000 people who are not vegan, who, I mean, of course, some vegans come because it's vegan mac and cheese. So, of course, but the vast majority of the people who come out are just curious, intrigued, want to know more. They don't quite understand how you can make mac and cheese without cow's milk and dairy cheese, but they're very, very curious and they want to know more about how that would happen. And they come and they learn, and the food is delicious, and they're really happy, and they're ready to, they're motivated now to start doing something different. And very similarly, we were able to bring out close to 1,000 people to a cooking demo event that we did called the Cooking Demo Extravaganza, which was just, we used our entire community center and we had back-to-back cooking demos on all kinds of different topics, and had vegan chefs and restaurant owners and just folks who were really, really passionate about making plant-based foods just come out and teach these cooking demos. And we had everything from, you know, vegan seafood, because Baltimore, of course, is port side, and so seafood is like a big thing here, to barbecue, to, you know, just all kinds of stuff that people were able to walk away with recipes and plates of food. And it was just a really, really enriching and exciting experience. We had someone come out and write up a story about the event. And so just providing that kind of service to the community is so important to us. We've actually been able to create so much momentum that the festival that I started with Naja Wright Brown, who is another amazing community-based activist here in Baltimore City, who owns a restaurant called the Land of Kush. She and I started this, what we thought was a tiny little festival in Baltimore City in 2014. We were hoping that just a few people would come out and learn more about plant-based eating, about, you know, compassionate choices and sustainable living and all these things. And this past year, 2018, we actually grew, or I don't even know if we grew it, it grew to the point where we had 16,000 people come out to this festival that we were just hoping that a few hundred people would come out to just 5 years ago. So it just really goes to show how much momentum this work that we've been doing and other activists here in Baltimore have been doing, how much momentum and how much like just excitement around this lifestyle has been built up in a very, very short period of time. And it's been exciting, and it's been gratifying, and it's been hard work, but just so rewarding. And I would encourage folks who are thinking about starting to do advocacy at the community level, whether that be you know, your physical community, like the neighborhood where you live, or your work community, your spiritual community, your family community, wherever, that it's really important to connect with others, and especially if you're connecting with people who you already understand, and they understand you, and you know what their needs are, and you know what it is that they're interested in or what they're passionate about, then they'll trust you, and you'll be much more likely to be able to be effective in the activism that you're doing. So from education to engagement. And then another part of the work that we're doing here is actually practically creating food that is plant-based, that can be accessible and made available to people in low-income communities. And that's the almost like the not maybe not the final piece, but it's another important component to our plan of um, creating this infrastructure of plant-based this plant-based food system infrastructure, because there's lots of plant-based foods out there. There's lots of burgers, there's lots of veggie chicken this and quinoa that, and there's all these products that first of all are not accessible, meaning they just don't exist in low income communities oftentimes, and they're certainly not affordable to people who are low income. You won't see the folks in the communities where we work shuffling into Whole Foods or Whole Foods Market or any of the other high-end natural food stores. And so, since that is completely out of their reach, our goal was to use our connections and our network, the folks who we know who are working locally in plant-based food, to come together with us to sort of create these recipes for products that would be delicious, obviously, and also affordable, and where we could have right in the communities where people are most in need of these foods. And so that's sort of where the Greener Kitchen, that's the intention that the Greener Kitchen was born out of. We wanted to have a production kitchen where we could make these products that are top-notch products. I mean, we know that in order for people to completely just do a complete 180 on the foods that they're eating and to try something that is foreign and that they don't know anything about, that we would have to make it as relatable as possible. And so that was our goal, and that's what we've been able to do. We have a full line of products that we make available for sale to the public. Folks can actually come in and do their grocery shopping with us right in their community. And it's painless. Our goal was to take something that people would not be excited about, something like changing their life, like shifting gears into a completely different way of living, and just make it as painless as possible. Give people as much support as possible. Give people all the things, all the excuses or reasons that they have for why they can't do this. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, I can't get to the food. Oh, it doesn't taste good. Whatever those obstacles are that folks feel like are standing in the way of them transitioning their diet away from animal products and towards plant products. We wanted to remove a lot of those obstacles and make the whole transition as painless as possible. Of course, we can't go to people's houses and change their lives for them, but we wanted to focus our work on making things easier, because for a lot of people it was a hard transition, and we didn't have the support from our families, certainly from our friends oftentimes, and certainly from society. This society actually is in complete opposition to living compassionately, to making choices that are more sustainable, to eating foods that are plant-based. Just everything sort of works against that. The government agencies, the institutions at every level support and prop up animal use. And so our major goal in this work that we're doing is to connect with people, is to educate, is to provide resources and support, and to stay connected constantly and to just move things along and to create this whole shift in the culture of eating, in the culture of lifestyle. Um, and so it's been a greater success than we ever would have imagined. It's been like a dream come true. We've had people who have seen what we're doing and who have said, you know, I want to support that. I want to come out and volunteer. I want to help, you know, in other ways. Do you need websites? You know, just all kinds of folks who just see the hard work. They see how much we put into this. They see where our hearts are and that we actually want to create major change in the culture here and everywhere, really, and have sort of stepped up and pledged their whatever they have, you know, resources and support to to keeping this work going. So that has been such a blessing for us as well, because taking on something this momentous is not easy, and it takes a lot of hands, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time and energy and resources. And so we've been really, really blessed here to have folks who appreciate what it is. And everybody doesn't appreciate community-based activism. For some people, they just feel like, oh, you're not reaching enough people, you're not making enough of a difference. You know, these folks over here passed out 1 million flyers, and you know that's making a bigger impact than what you're doing. And I mean, I don't know that we really need to compete, but I do know that doing activism at the community level, the way that we're doing it, has been so beneficial for the folks who live at the margins, who are just as important as the college students, you know, that you leaflet to, who are just as important as the, I don't know, festival goers or, you know, the concert goers or whomever. Everybody, in order for us to have a real shift in culture, we have to have folks doing advocacy at every level to every group of people. And so I think that that's a big part of the reason why the the activism that we've been doing has been so effective in the community that we're doing it in, because that it functions to serve a need that exists within that community, and which is what advocacy should do. It should be a give and take. It should be, you know, there should be like a comprehensive agenda, and not just, you know, take my information and change your life and do it now or you're a terrible person. But rather, what is it that you need? Where are you? What is your current situation? How can I help and support you in making this transition to doing something, which is just who I am and what I would do. It never occurred to me to do anything other than that with this work. And so, yeah, I would encourage people to, you know, if you have the opportunity to do activism, advocacy at the community level in whatever capacity, I would encourage people to do so. It's just so beneficial to everybody involved, including the activist, because I can't tell you how many times people have come to me after they've gone through our program, or after they've been volunteering with us for a while or whatever, and they just say that being a part of what we're doing has changed their lives for the better. Just feeling like a member of a community, almost like a family, but a really, really big family, has just enriched their lives so much. And it certainly has enriched my life more than I could ever even imagine. So, you know, I at this point, I am actually doing community-based activism trainings for folks who want to learn how to do this and how to do it effectively and successfully. Because I feel like what we've been able to do here in Baltimore can definitely be recreated, um, and what all the stuff that we've done can, be done everywhere else. And so that is a goal of mine as well, is to just help other people, folks who come up to me and say, oh man, this is so inspiring and I would love to do that. Can I pick your brain, or can I talk to you more about how it is that you do what you do? Well, now you can. And so that's sort of a new thing. But I'm really excited about that as well, because the more folks who are on the ground doing activism all over the country and all over the world, I feel like the momentum that we've been able to gain here could just be happening all over. And then we'll start to see real change and a real shift in the culture, which is a goal for me. So that is what I have to say about community-based activism, community-based advocacy. If anybody has any questions or thoughts or anything, I'm more than happy to speak more, and say thank you again for tuning in and being a part of this experience with me.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Brenda. This is a real treat to hear all about what you're doing. And as I mentioned in the beginning, my name's Lisa Levinson. I'm with In Defense of Animals, and we've just been hearing from Brenda Sanders, who is a real vegan dynamo, just doing so many things. I mean, when we first talked about doing this, I was so surprised that you had 4 different logos to share and 4 different, websites and other things. And so it's really incredible. And one of the purposes of this online webinar series that we have is to give assistance for activists, any strategies that they have, and you've shared so many on how to engage the community. And just wanted to ask you, like, how do you do it all? How do you, I mean, you've got so many ideas and all these projects going at the same time, and I'm wondering, how do you do this? And do you have any suggestions for folks?
Don't take on so much. That would be the suggestion that I have. I can't not do. When I see something that needs to be done, and there have been projects that I've just been like, you know what? No, I'm not. I can't take on another thing, and that will just keep me up at night until I just give in and say, okay, this needs to be done. I have to do it. And that's just, it's kind of my personality. It's a part of who I am. I literally have been that way since I was a little kid. So I can't teach that part. But what I would say is that, as someone who's doing advocacy, it's really, really, sometimes it's, or I would say as somebody who wants to be doing advocacy, who wants to kind of be out there, it can be intimidating, right? It can either, not knowing where to start, or kind of having an idea of where to start, but not knowing if you can do it. I would say you can do it. You absolutely can do it, and you should, because if something is moving you, if something inside is moving you to do something, it's because you can do it. And, it won't even take long for other people to start showing up and supporting you in whatever it is that you were trying. People will just come from out of nowhere to support you and be a part of your vision and what it is that you're trying to do. So I would just say start, and it'll all just start to fall into place. I don't even know if I would have I certainly couldn't have seen all the different ways that things were going to fall into place to just sort of assist us in this work that we were doing, but it just did. And so I just feel like, just being good people, doing good work, things just have opened up. And so don't be afraid. Don't doubt. yourself, and just start. That's all I
Wow,
would say.
it's like build the house or build the store and people will come. And that's what you've experienced. You just started these projects and now you've got this like thriving kitchen. You've got people behind you making food and all these amazing
Yeah,
things. So it's really such an inspiration to hear about what you're doing. And I know this idea of having help, people will come to you, and maybe sometimes it's about reaching out and asking for assistance or other things like that too, just to so you can maximize all the goodness that you're bringing to the world.
absolutely.
So I wanted
Yeah,
to invite, oh,
we've
sorry,
never asked for help and not gotten it. So, there are so many people who just have talents and have skills and have the ability to do things, and you won't know until you ask. So you're absolutely right.
wow. Well, everything you're doing is like a testament to being able to reach out, to kind of talk about your dreams and visions, and then have them actualize. So I wanted to take a moment and just invite anybody who's with us, either in the webinar or if you're watching on Facebook on the live feed, you're welcome to ask a question. For those of us who are in the webinar, you can press *4 and unmute yourself if you have a question. You can also type one in the chat box, and it looks like we may have something there now. And on the live feed, you can do that as well. You can type in your question. We'll check it out. And I want to thank the folks who've joined us. We have some activists who joined our webinar now, which is really wonderful. And yes, we have someone who shared he's loving it, really informative, so that's awesome. And people are sharing this with their friends, and please do that. Share the videos so more people can see it, more people can learn about what Brenda's doing, and also get inspired to start these sorts of projects in their own communities. I'm going to check just to see how things are on our live feed, just see if anyone has any questions here. Wow. Good. So, um, just in terms of you managing all these things, and you mentioned some different advice um, and talked about some of the bigger events that you're doing. I mean, do you have any strategies for how do you handle the big events versus the smaller events, or do you do that the same way?
Well, once we sort of got into a groove of understanding what it looks like to organize an event, it all started to make sense. It's just that very beginning part where you're not quite sure, like, what system do we use to register people? How do we get the word out? What are the best ways to market? What are the worst ways to market? We made lots and lots of mistakes, and that is I don't even really believe in mistakes uh, very much anymore, because every single thing that you do that isn't effective, you learned that wasn't effective, and now, you can do something else. And so, just, I would say, be as organized as possible. Write everything down. Have spreadsheets for every single thing. Just categorize everything and log everything. Um, Even if you think that you're doing a one-off event and that you'll never do it again, you just never know. It might be so successful that that the public demands that you do it again. And so you want to know exactly what worked and what didn't work, and what, caused chaos, but what fixed the chaos. And so, as time goes on, you'll just get the hang of it. You will, it's almost like things will just work almost on their own at a certain point. But in the beginning, it's all about collecting information, figuring out what works the best, what creates the least amount of chaos, and what makes people the happiest when they walk away. Because for me, that is the biggest thing. It's like, I want the people who we engage with to walk away feeling like they learned something, feeling like they are changed for the better, and feeling like they definitely, definitely want to come back. And then that's what we've been able to do. We've been able to create and recreate that situation over and over and over again, so that, when we're compiling information, for the folks who we're engaging with from one event to the next, we're finding a lot of people who we connected with 2 years ago are now our biggest volunteers, are now the people who want to take over some aspect of organizing with us. And so, but it really, in organizing, you got to be organized. And I would say that is probably the biggest, most important thing. And if you personally are not super organized, talk to your very, very organized friend and get some. Everybody has that one friend whose house is just super clean and they just really seem to have it together. Get that person involved, or get advice from that person so that they can help you to bring that kind of organization to what you're doing.
Wow. Great advice. Really, those are such important words to live by. I mean, about being organized, kind of taking a close look at your friends' homes and seeing what whether or not you want them on your team. But I think this is so helpful. It's just to get a sense of, here you're doing so much, but where did you start and how did you build all of this? And really getting the information and the products into the hands of those people who really need them. And that's so important, to get like the fresh fruits and vegetables, and to kind of get into communities that maybe haven't been receiving this information. So that's such important work, and I really, really appreciate that you're doing that. And we can all do that. This
Thank
is
you.
just a great model. So I hope that folks who are tuning in are inspired and can reach out to their local communities and kind of get that vegan spark and all of the wonderful programs that you have, Brenda. And again, if you want to see more of what she's doing, you can go to Brenda's website, which is brendasanders.info. So, and I put that in the live feed. So if you read the notes, you can go directly to her website from there. So Brenda, it's been such an honor to have you here, and really, I totally admire you and everything you're doing, and um, I just, I vote for you to get a few assistants so you can continue your amazing work. And I love the way you've created this warm community for everyone to join in and feel a part of. And I think that's such a great model for what we can do, is just embrace everyone with this beautiful, vegan hug, that will bring more people to our communities. So I want to thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us. And also, if you have any questions for Brenda, you can reach out to her on her website, brendasanders.info. And please continue to share this video so people can see it, and stay tuned. We do have one of these each month, so we do bring in different activists coming in, and we hope that you can join us next time. So this is Lisa Levinson signing out for In Defense of Animals, and again, thank you so much to Brenda. I know she's been super busy, and we're very fortunate to have her with us today. And thanks to everyone who joined us. We're really one big happy online community, and I'm so glad we could all learn from one another. It's really important. Have a wonderful evening. And thanks to everyone. Good night. Thanks, Brenda.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.